in the country, and usually we'll get one or two in the Chicagoland area where you'll see multiple fatalities in one home. You can't smell carbon monoxide, you can't taste carbon monoxide, you have no idea it's happening. And so it's critically important that you have the right detectors in your home.
It's The First Shift, weekday mornings at 6 a.m. with me, Marky B, right here on WRMN. It is 9:06. There we are on YouTube. It's time for Kane County Speaks. As we bring on our friend Brian Anderson to lead the way, talk about what's happening in Kane County at the board meetings and interview great candidates. And want to let you know the following program does not necessarily reflect the opinions and views of the management of the Fox River Valley Media Network, this station's employees or affiliates or sponsors. But that doesn't mean it's not factual, and we bring in Brian Anderson, who reports on what's happening to you as we try to learn more about what goes on, which you should know at the Kane County Board meetings, and interview our candidates. Welcome back to another show, Brian.
Mark, good morning. Happy October.
Yes,
what a
sir.
Great day in Elgin. Crisp, beautiful. This is my kind of weather.
Is it?
Yeah.
Better than summertime?
Yeah. Late September through November is my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
No humidity, beautiful sunny day, crisp. Love to watch the leaves change.
I'm sad to see summer go.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't come back for so long.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because fall's good too.
So just a brief recap, as Mark alluded. Sometimes I will come in and talk about most recent board meetings. Here's really the focus right now. We've got 33 days till the election. 33 days till November 5th. So hopefully all of your listers, you are all registered. If you're not, get registered. If you've got family and friends that aren't registered, get them to vote. I think this is the most important election in my 63 years on this planet, and especially here locally in Kane County, as I've been walking and talking to citizens all over Kane County, I'm reminding them of what's gone on the last 4 years. And I'm going to just kind of read, this is from a letter of a friend of mine that she sent to the entire Kane County Board, addressed to Corrine Pirog, the chairman of the board, but as kind of a recap. In the last 4 years, the Kane County budget was $65 million. It took Kane County 188 years to go from zero budget to $65 million. And in 2020, in 4 years, it's gone from 65 to a staggering $124 million. Out of control spending. And oh, by the way, I'm looking at her letter. According to your own accounting report, as of July 24th, 2024, that's an 87% increase in 4 years. And I'm not going to mention the board member's name right now, but I had to chuckle. After that particular board meeting, this board member came up to my friend, who I'm just going to keep her name quiet for now as well. Ma'am, I think your numbers are off. And she looked at the board member and said, well, they actually came from your own finance committee. So to me, it's out of touch because this board member had been on the board for a long time. So anyway, pay attention, 33 days left. It's time for the citizens of Kane County to have an opportunity to go and vote. There is a host of great candidates on the ballot. One of them is sitting next to me. You know, we've talked on all these interviews, 46% of Kane County is now independent. We've got an independent candidate. We've got Bob Dennin here. Bob's from Aurora. He is running for the Kane County Board seat, District 4. And so I'm delighted to be here this morning with Bob. And good to see you, Bob.
It's good to see you. Thank you.
Yellow is one of my favorite colors.
Yeah.
Orange, too.
I'm trying to bring spring back.
Okay. And I'm gearing up for fall and orange. So I'll just start off with the first question I ask every candidate for the listeners. You single, you married, you have kids, how long have you lived in Aurora? Just give all of the viewers and listeners kind of a snapshot of a little bit of Bob and your background.
All right, very good, thanks. Yeah, I'm married, 39 years to my wife, Cheryl. She's fantastic. She's actually a great organizer, and she's helping to organize all of this behind the scenes, and I couldn't love her and thank her enough for that, so very appreciative. I've lived in Kane County my entire life. I was actually born at the original Copley Hospital. Lived on Benton Street for a while. My parents moved to Montgomery after that. Obviously, I went to college and so on. Got an internship, met my wife there, and she'll tell the story that when we first met, she hated me.
Usually it's the other way around.
No, she did not like me. But things changed, obviously, and that was 39 years ago. Happily married ever since.
Outstanding. We're coming up on 27, so I'm looking forward for 39. And what just popped into my head, she didn't like me at first, but then obviously she has. Sounds like a board member, sitting across the aisle, didn't like that collaboration, finding common ground, finding similarities.
Absolutely.
I think that's outstanding. So I just don't want the listeners to pass up on that nugget that, any relationship can start out a little rocky, but great listening skills and collaboration, one of us can find ourselves married, and even married to a board member going, hey, man, I like you. We can work together. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So, okay. Now, this District 4, where do you, how long have you currently lived and where you're currently living in District 4?
A little over 30 years.
Wow.
Same house. And, we started out in an apartment when we first got married. Then we moved in with her mom for a while. Then it was a funny story. They went for a walk, and they walked past this house, and it was for sale. The next thing you know, we buy it. And it was only a couple of blocks from where her mom lived, which worked out fine. And we've been there ever since.
So you are deeply rooted in Aurora, deeply rooted in District 4, deeply rooted in what's going on. And we'll get to my follow-up question in a minute, which is, my next question is, tell us about just your professional background, your vocation, what do you do, and how long have you been doing that?
Well, I'm a manager of an application team for Advocate Health. Got a group of 10 people that report to me. Fantastic folks. Love them all. Actually, my support structure there is absolutely wonderful. My director, actually, when I mentioned to her that I was considering doing this, there was this long silence, and then she says, I absolutely 100% support your decision to do that, whatever you need. You have lots of time off accumulated. Take the time you need, invest the time, and whatever I can do to help you with that, I will do. And I appreciate that so much.
Well, that in itself, and I love talking about teams and leadership and the right people in the right seats. And boy, you are obviously blessed to be working with someone that, keep your nose to the grindstone. We can't afford you to take your eye off the ball versus Bob, 100% support. I'm behind you. You've done a great job, and that's a good feeling. How long have you been with that company?
24 years.
Okay.
I started out at the old Dryer building.
Okay.
On Galena Boulevard. Started out building PCs. And actually, I was hired because they were bringing on the electronic medical record in 2000. And I was hired to build the PCs, deliver them to all the providers, and then train them on how to use those PCs before the rollout of the application.
Now, in my new world of only the last 15 months, PCs are precinct committee people, but in your world, what's a PC?
Personal computers.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Remember those days?
Yeah. Okay. So that's some of your technical expertise?
Well, right now, but that all morphed into, I moved out of the technical side
Okay.
and moved into the application side. So we support the electronic medical record, which is epic for folks that are in the know on that sort
Oh,
of thing.
I would think so.
Yeah.
So 24 years you've been doing that, been married 39 years, lived in the same house for 30 years, deeply rooted and grounded there in District 4. When did you wake up and kind of tell us, because boy, you know, not what I'm learning, it's not for everybody. What made you decide to raise your hand and say, you know, I think I want to run for local politics? Tell us about that.
Well, I think you touched on it in your opening, as far as this is the most important election of our lifetime, so to speak.
Okay.
And Cheryl and I, we'd been talking about things, and you know, you have your eye on what's going on politically and so on. And we both decided that we should get involved locally. And the thought was, let's look at maybe getting involved in voter registration.
Okay.
So we went to a presentation, and Cheryl struck up a conversation with someone, you know, who this person was, but they had a conversation. And it was indicated that there was a seat open in our district in November. We kind of thought about it, and you know, it's one of those thought processes. It's something that we should do. And then she told me at one point, she said, "You know, you'd be good for that." And like, okay, and you know, and I thought more and more about it, and then I kind of laid the groundwork with my boss and had those conversations, and finally I said, let's do it. So here we are.
Outstanding. And, you know, you may have more insight on this even than I do, Mark, but as I've got involved in this political world of local politics and, you know, the townships and the elected precinct committee people and the appointed PC, and you got to go out and knock and walk, repeat is what I'm learning. Knock, walk, repeat. I'm a pretty outgoing person, and I'm pretty confident. And I got to tell you, as I've been going out and knocking and walking and meeting people, two things. Number one, amazing people through Kane County. I've met some amazing people, but you know, it's not. There are days where you knock on a door and you just get shot out of the water by a you know, citizen that may have they've had a bad day or whatever, right. And you're the recipient of just being blasted. And I have so much respect for what you're doing. I have so much respect for the other candidates. I have so much respect for your spouses, because it is a tough job, and all the work and the toil and the sacrifice as we lead up to November 5th, and hopefully you're going to get over the finish line and be the victor. But it's for those that have never talked about it or know much about it, I can tell you, as I've been immersed in it now, I'm just so thankful when citizens like you decide to just get up one day and go, I think I'm going to do this. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
Before I go to my next question, tell us, you know, you're running as an independent, so it's easy. Hey, I'm a Democrat, I'm under the Democrat umbrella, and you walk up and fellow Democrat meets fellow Democrat or Republican. With this whole independent thing, which I think is beautiful, is that it's all about having the right people in the right seats working for we the people. And so tell us about just your experience knocking, walking, repeat. How's that been going? And I'm fascinated.
And overall, the experience has been fantastic. You know, like you mentioned, you'll have days where it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong to this person? But you're going to get those. I mean, it's the nature of the beast, as I've found with all the walking. It's amazing, though, the amount of support you get and the amount of great conversations you have with people. And the fact that the unfortunate thing is they don't really understand what's going on. They don't know what's going on. So you're doing part of your role is to educate. And as you're knocking on doors and you're talking to people, you're educating them about the things that are happening in the county that they're not aware of. which I feel at the end of the day, that's beneficial in its own way, just the education portion of it.
What you just said, Bob, is really the tip of the spear. As I've been walking all over Kane County in these different districts and walking for the different candidates or trying to get what I call candidate awareness, I carry this wonderful booklet that anybody can pick up downtown Geneva. In back of the government building is the elections building. And this is the Kane County 2023-2024 government guide. And in this, it's got all the 24 board members. And so when I'm out walking, knocking, and repeating those actions, when John Q. Taxpayer opens the door, I introduce myself, here's who I am, here's why I'm here, and I'm go, this is your particular board member in your district. Do you know anything about them? 99.9% of the people that I've talked to, well, thanks, Brian. Number one, I didn't really know much about Kane County government. Number two, I didn't know we had a board member, didn't know there were 24, and then I show them the picture, don't know anything about them. Right? And I go, well, let me just give you a couple of quick data points. And most often they go, where do I sign? Or I'm all in. I'm ready to go. Because when you talk to most people around Kane County, and I opened it up with the whole budget. I don't know about you, Mark. Prices keep going up. I mean, I took my wife out for a little date night last night, and what should have been, $28 2 years ago, 3 years ago, everything's doubled. Yep. Everything.
Yep.
And they just put on, not for this November 5th, but for an April consolidated election, a 0.75% specialty retail occupancy tax. They're just finding other ways to continue to tax us, and we'll spend some time talking about that, instead of being fiscally responsible, pruning where we need to prune, stand ground where we need to stand, and instead of just going, everything's an open checkbook. And that's been my experience by going to these board meetings for 14, 15 months. Now, not to put you on the spot, have you ever been to any of the Kane County board meetings?
Sadly, I have not.
Okay.
But I've watched them.
Okay.
I mean, I have gone onto YouTube and gone through that experience. Yeah, just the overall board meeting, 5 to 6 hours is far too long. So it kind of, that in and of itself is a tell to me that it's not well managed, in my opinion, because board meetings meetings in general, people have good focus for the first hour. Second hour, they're still focused. After 2 hours, people lose focus in conversations. And when you get into the 4, 5, 6 hours, unfortunately, I think you've lost people's engagement in the conversation. So all they're looking to do is they're looking at their watches, they're checking their phone, and they're just looking to leave. They just want to go because they're done.
100% agree. Mm-hmm. And I just want to remind the listeners, when I asked the question about the board meetings, listen, I've had my own business. I have my own schedule, right? You work for a big company. Your schedule, and I'm making this up, you're there at 7 a.m. until 4 in the afternoon, and most of these board meetings, 99% of them, they're always at 9 a.m., 9:45. Once in a while, it'll be 11:30 or maybe a 1:30, but by and large, you're at 9. So, of course, you probably aren't going to be able to attend unless you've looked at your calendar and go, I want to go to this particular board meeting because you're at work. And so I'm glad that, and just for the listeners, yes, every board meeting, you can go on the Kane County government website, go into any of the committees, and then pull up, and you can go back and rewatch any board meeting, and it's staggering what you see and hear and listen to. It's just mind-boggling, some of the craziness that goes on. So,
yeah, and I've had a couple of people where you're going through that education process as you're talking to them, and I've encouraged them to go to the Kane County website and watch a board meeting, or I'll go to this finance committee meeting and watch XYZ. So I think it's a great tool to have in your pocket to encourage people to get engaged.
So I know we're getting ready to come up on a break here in a couple of minutes, and we'll talk about it after the break. When you and your wife were just kind of wrestling with this idea, was there any issue or issues in particular that you said, you know what, enough's enough, I've been sitting on the couch, I've been listening to what's going on? Was there any issues that really was your passion piece to take you over and go, I want to do this?
Well, the initial thought process, of course, was we got our property tax bill in the springtime. So, well, something's not right here. And you do some investigation, and you start to try and understand the budget numbers and so on. And it's almost impossible from that perspective, unless you are actually on the board, to have the details, because it looks like, where's all this money coming from and where's it going? And you really can't tell. So that was the first thing. And then I had an encounter with someone, and it was one of those moments where it just tugs at your heartstrings. And he made the comment, he said, we need to get involved, if not now, when, because we're losing it. And he was referencing the country and government in general. We're losing it if we don't get involved now. And the way he delivered it was very emotional. And I think that was the final tipping point for me when I heard that. It's like, if people are experiencing that kind of pain, then how can you not step up and try and help?
Right. Well, and I agree completely. And at some point in time, I hope more and more people will step up, whether it's here locally in Elgin, running for a city council position, or a mayor's position, U46, running for a school board position, right, coming up in April. I mean, there's so many opportunities where we, the people, like you just said, can step up, stand up, and, God gives us all great gifts, and I am a man of faith, and, hey, Lord, use my gifts in a mighty way. Give me the strength that I don't have on my own to go out, and when that gets activated, good things happen, and I think we need more and more people to step up. Before we break here, Washington, D.C., I should have the number in front of me. I mean, trillions and trillions in debt. State of Illinois, Pritzker, one of the highest budgets in the history. Well, and then following the Democratic playbook by the Democratic chairman of the board, Corinne Pirogue, here in Kane County, I started out. $65 million 4 years ago, $124 million 4 years later. There's no surprise. She's following the playbook from Springfield. She's following the playbook from D.C. They want to constantly spend, and they want to spend so she can reward her union donors, because they passed an ordinance, I think sometime last year, that, you own a small business, construction business, sorry, we're only working with union vendors, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So we are wrapping into our first break here, and we will return in a few minutes.
Yes, sir. It's Kane County Speaks, and we have Brian Anderson leading the way, and Bob Dennin is joining us today, running for Kane County Board District 4 as an independent. And we're going to talk more with him in just a few minutes. If you want to talk to him, you can call during the break, be a part of the second half of the show. 847-931-1410 is the number. That's 847-931-1410. You can also join us on YouTube at WRMN Radio. Got a comment or two that I'll read when we come back. Or on our Image 360 information line at 505-926-1410 if you want to send a text. That's 505-926-1410. Let's catch some news here at the bottom of the hour. Kane County Speaks continues on WRMN.
With your 1410 WRMN News Flash, I'm Sean Kernan. Brought to you by Bank of America Merrill Investments. There's a groundbreaking taking place on Friday. It's part of the expansion of the Elgin Sports Complex. It'll start at 11 a.m. at the complex grounds, located just south of U.S. Route 20 on McLean Boulevard. The expansion is aiming to improve facilities for sports enthusiasts and further bolster community engagement. The League of Women Voters from Aurora, Elgin, and Central Kane County are set to host a candidate forum on October 9th at Batavia City Hall. The gathering will allow candidates from Illinois' 11th Congressional District, along with various state legislative and judicial positions, to debate and present their platforms ahead of the November 5th general election. Elgin residents can now enjoy a more convenient leaf collection, as waste management will no longer require stickers for yard waste bags starting this month. Weekly collections will coincide with the usual garbage pickup schedule. With your 1410 WRMN News Flash, I'm Sean Kernan.
In business, service is everything. Cintas delivers what you need to better serve your customers. Whether it's freshly laundered work apparel for almost any job imaginable, tested and inspected fire protection systems, first aid and safety supplies, on-site AED training, or mops and restroom products, stocked and ready when you need them. Better work days happen together. So visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AB.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
Blackhawks training camp is underway. They'll take on Minnesota tomorrow night at United Center. Then Saturday, it's a matchup with St. Louis. Then it's on to the season opener Tuesday, October the 8th at Expansion, Utah. Illinois football dropped to number 24 in this week's AP Top 25. The Illini on the bye. The next game scheduled for Saturday, October 12th at home against Purdue. Top 25 battle for Northwestern at home against number 23 Indiana. SIU football home Saturday night against Illinois State. Bulls training camp continues as they get set for next Tuesday's preseason opener against the Cavaliers. First of 5 preseason games this season. The regular season openers on the road. Battle against the Pelicans. The Bulls visit Milwaukee 2 nights later, then open up the home half of the schedule on October the 26th against Oklahoma City. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive.
I'm Chuck Sanders on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
In business, service is everything. Cintas delivers what you need to better serve your customers. Whether it's freshly laundered work apparel for almost any job imaginable, tested and inspected fire protection systems, first aid and safety supplies, on-site AED training, or mops and restroom products, stocked and ready when you need them. Better work days happen together. So visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Fabric Talk. Hey, it's me, your couch. Today's my favorite day of the week, Febreze Fabric Spray Day. The occasional deep cleans are nice, but in between, you know I'm needing a refresh. Ooh, here she comes with the Febreze Fabric Spray. Oh yeah, spritz them armrests. Don't be shy. Nothing like a good spray down to get me smelling so fresh and clean. Don't forget my back. Nice. Febreze Fabric Spray. It's just that easy. Now we can both breathe happy. Febreze. La 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 la.
All right, welcome back to Kane County Speaks. It's Brian Anderson's show. We talk to the candidates, we talk the issues from the Kane County Board, and we check messages on YouTube at WRMN Radio on YouTube if you're viewing that way. Or if you want to give us a call, we have open phone lines right now for you to voice your thoughts at 847-931-1410 on YouTube today. Marcos checks in, and he says, I would like to attend some of these Kane County meetings, but I I need evening meetings because of work. They should at least mix it up a little bit, says Marcos. And then he also said, Bob sounds like he would be a solid representative for me, fiscally responsible. So those are the comments that we have on YouTube right now.
Well, thanks for that, Marco. And I should know. I don't. I know a little. I think that as far as the entire board, led by the chairman of the board, could unanimously at some point change that to where the Kane County board meetings could be in the evening. You go into DeKalb County, and their board meetings are in the evening at 6. There's several counties around locally that their board meetings are at 6 o'clock at night. So as most men and women, they're out working. You get off work and you can attend a board meeting.
Well, and that same thing goes for board members, those of us that continue to have full-time jobs
Yes.
and so forth. It would really be beneficial to have evening meetings, but more so for the residents because it gives them the opportunity to come to the board meetings and listen in and participate. And it's all about participation. At the end of the day, getting the residents engaged and involved.
Yeah, I agree. I want to go back. You had mentioned you've been with, what is it, Advocate?
Advocate.
24 years, and you lead a team of 10. So share with us your leadership skill, your leadership style. How do you lead, guide, direct this team of 10?
Well, obviously we're all professionals, and I treat them as such. The expectation, I manage the expectations as necessary, but for the most part, I form relationships for trust in terms of getting to a trust level. So I care about their professional life. I'm engaged in their personal life in terms of understanding and helping and supporting them in that regard, so that we can establish levels of trust, because it makes it easier for us to exchange ideas, to have conversations, whether they're difficult or positive. And to me, that's the foundation of being a leader, is to understand your team and to motivate, to support, and also course correct when necessary, which is very rare with my group. I've found we're at a place now where I think everybody understands, and they also realize that I'm open in terms of you can reach out to me anytime. And we meet on a regular basis, but during the course of the day, they'll ping me. Got a question? Get on a call, talk to them, or we'll just do it through an IM, and that's every day.
So, any examples of where collaboration is utilized?
Oh, constant. With an organization of that size, we have, at any given moment, we'll have 50 projects on our team. And we have a full team of 20, but you'll have 50 projects going on, which means then you're working with other application teams. They don't report to us, but it's all part of one big group.
Right.
So from a collaboration standpoint, you'll get a lot of differing opinions when you're bringing in other folks.
Yes.
And internally as well. The idea, the task there is to figure out how to get everybody to work together and gain consensus. And the biggest thing is you have to listen. Listening is such a skill that's so underrated, but you have to listen, you have to make notes, and you have to drive that engagement, because if people aren't engaged and they're not focused on the issue at hand, and get rid of the other noise, focus on the issue at hand, and move forward.
I love that, Bob, and just for the listeners, I mean, there was so much of what you just said, and I've often been asked, Brian, why do you these guys are running for local board seat? Why do you ask them about their leadership style and collaboration? Because I think when you get 24 board members, which is what we're at in Kane County, it requires great active listening skills. It requires relationship building and trust. It requires engagement. And I can tell you, and I've said this on this program before, there are several Democrats that they are amazing. They do what you and I are talking about, and they common sense, and they want to do the right things for the right reasons for the people here in where they represent. And there are some Republicans that, unfortunately, right, they're not like that. And I can tell you, I've been told by several Democrats, Brian, we just want people like what you just described, if they're independent or Republicans, that we can work together, right? And now some of that stems, which is a whole different conversation, from the lead agenda driven at the Kane County Board, from the chairman of the board on down. And so I can tell you without hesitation that there are Democrat board members that do not like working with Corrine Perogue at all, because she's not a collaborator and one to engage and get things going. That's why you've got 5, 6, 7-hour board meetings, right? But back to your point, and I think all of our experiences in life, they train, guide, build the foundation to where we are at this moment in time. And so there are some board members on the board that they don't have your type of experience where listening and collaboration and engaging, let alone leading a team of 10, 12, 15, 20. They came from a background where they were an individual contributor, and they only know what they've known in the past. And so I think it's a fresh perspective when some of these board members come on and they have a rich background and they have a great background of leadership like yourself.
Yeah, I think it's really the collaboration part. That's really the key. Is to we have a tool that we use. It's the 10 ideas. So if you have a complex issue or any type of issue, 10 ideas. Everybody has to come up with an idea, maybe 2 ideas, and then we all come together and discuss those ideas until we get to the best one. That drives that collaboration. And it gives that consensus, and it also leads at the end to engagement, because if everybody's been involved in the decision-making process and they've all agreed to that decision, they're all engaged in moving that forward. And I think that's so key to having a solid team and a solid board.
Yeah, what popped into my head was a phrase, a quote, if you will, from yours. Yeah, listen to learn, not to make the other person wrong, right?
Correct.
Find some common ground.
Yes, absolutely.
So the full-time job, 24 years, 39 years of marriage. Any outside involvement in the community over the past 30 years?
Sadly, no. We haven't been engaged in any anything outside. Mm-hmm. So, but I will say this: having gone through this experience, I've met several great people that I want to pursue opportunities with them when all is said and done. Because I think the mission that they're driving is something that's really important, and it's hit home, and I want to support those folks, and I want to be a part of what they're doing.
With your background, what you've done, the leading of people, how do you see your professional background fitting in as a board member?
Well, yeah, the collaboration piece for certain. The drive to just bring folks together and be that person in the middle that says, okay, enough of the partisan stuff. I'm a nonpartisan. Let's all work together as a group for the benefit of the residents of Kane County, because that's why we're here. It's not our government. That pot of gold there, that's not ours. That's the residents' pot of gold. We need to be fiscally responsible with that, and we need to work together in that regard. And I think that it's to me that's really important. Is that again, it's not our government. It's the people's government.
Well, and that's a fresh perspective. I mean, I think that people get in and It is, they lose touch, they lose sight. They're working for we the people, and it's not their board seat. Jonathan Gripe, who is running, he's made that very clear that, ladies and gentlemen, it's your seat, and I'm there to represent you. And so I'm looking for feedback, which brings me, as you've been out walking and knocking and talking to people in District 4, what's their pain point? What are they hoping? Bob, if you get elected, here's what we're looking. What are they saying that's bothering them where they live?
I think the biggest focus that folks have right now is the taxes. And the messaging in regards to holding the line on taxes, I think is hitting home with folks, because they don't, as they're getting educated on what the county's spending levels have gone up to and what they're doing, they've come to realize that, wow, my budget didn't increase 87% in the last 4 years. How can theirs? So, I think that's the big message that I'm able to drive home. And I do touch on the fact, I'm a strong supporter of law enforcement. I'm also a strong supporter of term limits. I know that would make me a pariah in most political circles, but I don't feel it's necessary for politicians to be in office for more than a couple of terms. Do your public service and quietly step away and allow others, and fresh ideas and new perspectives to come on. I think it's really important in that regard.
So I agree, and it's one of those topics that, yes, I think there should be term limits. However, and I can only speak for myself, I'm not running for any office, but if I were, right, I'd go and go, you know what, I'm going to come in here and I'm doing this for 2 terms, because I come from a mindset, I believe, your first term, you're kind of learning the mechanic, learning what the process, understanding every facet, and then second term, you are operating like a Swiss watch, getting in there and getting things done, and then, like you said, quietly go, Brian, are you running for a 3rd term? You know what, I'm not. And I think the really good people that well, I've already been talking to so-and-so, and they're going to step in. And I think that's a fresh perspective as well. I totally lost what my question was going to be after that, because just listening to you talking about the voters and the pain point. Oh, and the budget. It's one of these things that, there are 3,400 counties in the United States, and there are counties that have less population than we do, and they're able to manage their budgets. Brief example. If you look at all of the employees under the Kane County government umbrella compensation-wise, and you go, what's the average, right? I think it's like a little over $58,000 would be the average. John Q. taxpayer that lives in Kane County, their average, if you average it out, would be about $54,000. So my point is, there are men and women that they're making more than the citizens that they represent. On the flip side of that, if you look at some of these departments, and I'm just going to use the transportation department because it's one of the biggest departments that they have, some of these men and women that work in the transportation department, I mean, they're making $80,000, $85,000, $90,000 a year. The current Kane County coroner, Rob Russell, who does a fabulous job, by the way, they're making a little bit less than he is, and with the scope of responsibility that he has. And we could spend an hour talking about this, because some of it falls under the union contracts and the collective bargaining and what they need to continue to do. And I come from a place where sometimes the board has to get together and go, you know what, we're at a place, and, effective immediately, there's going to be a pay freeze for the next cycle until we get things turned around. And Some people don't want to have that kind of conversation. And, when you're on a board, when you're on city council, when you're representing us at the state or congressional level, sometimes tough decisions have to be made. I mean, you've experienced it in 24 years where you've at, right?
Certainly. I've had years where we didn't get a raise or it was very minimal because that's how business has to operate in order to stay in business. And, you fully... Well, yes, you're not happy that you didn't get one. I think you also, deep down, you understand the reasoning why. And the same holds true for it has to hold true for government as well. Yeah, you may not be happy, but you've got to balance your budget. You've got to be responsible because you've got to keep going.
Anytime in 24 years there was a pay freeze at Advocate?
I'm trying to remember that. In 24 years is a long time. I'm fairly certain there was back in the old drier days. I'm fairly certain.
And as you mentioned, times where you got, hey, Bob, you're doing a great job. We love what you're doing, but your current compensation, that's what it's going to be for the next 12 months. And you're doing great, but there's no grain in the grain bin. And I'm hoping that this time next year, at your performance evaluation, there'll be an opportunity for a pay raise, right? Have you ever experienced that? Yeah. See, and that's exactly, I don't know if you've ever experienced that yourself, Mark, in the private sector as well, is that there are seasons where it is a pay freeze, it is we're on a hiring freeze, or, this year there's not a compensation pay increase. But they just wrestled with that, and we won't get into it, but there's several departments where they were making, I'm going to say, $88,000 a year, and they're being bumped up to $122 or $105, and so that's a pretty big pay raise. Yeah. Now the chuckling one before we pivot back into you is they had a compensation meeting, and one of the board members that drove that compensation meeting, Vern Tepe, I think, Madam Chair, we got to give her $160,000. Her base is 105. Thankful that the entire board got together, and thankful for several Democrats that said, hang on here, Hank, let's really take a look. And they kept her pay the same. And I applauded their efforts and their hard work, because these were not the Republicans crying. These were other Democrats on the board. Let's take a look at this. Let's whittle it back. Mavis Bates, who you're running against, she was on the side of let's give her more, let's give her more, let's give her more. And any of your viewers could go back and listen to those meetings and listen with your own ears and watch with your own eyes. Don't take my word for it. I always tell people, do your own research. So as we get ready to get into the wrap mode, you're running as an independent, which is refreshing. What would you tell the viewers that are watching and listening, why Bob Dennin? Why vote for you?
Well, I because I am independent, I feel like I'm not beholden to one party or another, so I'm strictly nonpartisan. The idea there, my personal belief, is the reason it affords me the opportunity to actually represent my neighbors, which is the sole point of doing this. Is I'm not doing it for me personally. I'm doing it for my neighbors and the residents of Kane County. I could have easily just kept shuffling into my back room and doing my work every day and done the usual thing. But I felt strongly enough that I wanted to get engaged and do things for the residents of the county. And by not being attached to a particular party, I don't have an agenda either way. And I think, to me, that's important. And that's my driving message as far as that's concerned. The biggest thing is to hold the line on taxes to kind of help to ease people's pain a little bit. We all realize that cost of living is high, groceries, gas, the whole 9 yards. And layering more taxes higher taxes on that is just not sustainable for folks. We can't, we have to manage our personal budgets. The county needs to manage theirs. And I want to be a part of that process.
Well, and I think you're exactly right. And, the facts are the facts are the facts. Mm-hmm. In 4 years, the budget didn't just by accident, right? You don't go from $65 million to $124 million in 4 years unless you have one objective, and that is a spend objective.
Correct.
And that's what we see in Springfield. That's what we see in Washington, D.C. And oh, by the way, unfortunately, at the end of the day, it is in Springfield, it is a super majority of Democrats in the House and the Senate. The majority of the judges, the Supreme Court of Illinois is a majority Democrat, and the same way in D.C. at the House of Representatives and Congress, not so much with the Supreme Court. But my point is that Corrine Pirogue is doing exactly what she's seeing in Springfield mm-hmm. and what she's seeing in D.C. Matter of fact, she was one of only 50 leaders, mayors or board members, chairs, if you will, that went to D.C. Interesting enough, one of the Democrat board members who I've built a good rapport with, that board member said, Brian, we didn't even know. I got a call from one of my constituents going, hey, what's she doing going to D.C.? It's like, I'm not sure, going to have to check into that. Where's the transparency, right? Where's the open communication? Yes, there's 24 board members, but I don't know. I got to scratch my head going, you didn't even let the 16 Democrats know, hey, I'm going to D.C. to represent us to go to some meeting about, what we can do here in Kane County to spend more money. I mean, that's the plan. That's the agenda.
Well, and I think that's the other thing that's lacking from the board in general is the lack of transparency. It's, they'll say, well, it's out on the website. Well, anybody who's tried to navigate that and find things, it's too cluttered. I shouldn't say it's too cluttered. I mean, it could probably be managed a little bit better, but the information is not easily searchable. And so the average citizen is not going to do that. So I think we need to be better at communicating to the residents of the county in some way, whether we publish a physical newsletter that goes in the mailbox, because everybody gets their mail. Not everybody goes on the internet. Not everybody wants to take a half an hour, 45 minutes to try and find something on the internet. But they will go to their mailbox and they'll open something up and they'll read it. I don't think it's, I think there's probably room in the budget. Oh my gosh, I'm spending money. But to do a quarterly mailer to send out to residents that kind of highlights, the good things that are going on and the challenges that the county faces, so that the residents have some understanding of what's going on with their government.
Good.
I don't think that's a stretch to do that.
Well, Bob, we've got 33 days to go. Breath of fresh air. Glad you came in today. Glad that the Kane County citizens that live in District 4, hopefully they know a little bit more about Bob Dennin than they did 54 minutes ago. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you very much,
Mark.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob Dennin, Brian Anderson, Kane County Speaks. You can watch it later on YouTube. Stay tuned.
Looking to stay informed on the political issues that truly matter? I'm Dennis Sonar Green, inviting you to join me every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. on WRMN for A Political Talk Show. WRMN, the talk of the town, is where you'll find clear, balanced analysis of the day's biggest news. We dig into the headlines, cutting through the noise to deliver the facts and insights you need to stay informed. Whether you're deeply into politics or just want to understand what's going on, this show offers the depth and perspectives that matter. Tune in every weekday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on WRMN and be part of the conversation that's shaping our community. Let's navigate today's political landscape together on A Political Talk Show, only on WRMN, the talk of the town.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 10 o'clock.
With your 1410